Hello, and welcome to this week's Thrive Programme podcast. Today, I'm joined by a lovely lady called Krystel, who actually is one of our Thrivers. So, she's a person who's been through the Thrive Programme for herself and wants to share her journey, her story, and inspire everybody out there that you can overcome your things, you can get yourself thriving, and look at what life is like when you're thriving. So, first of all, welcome, Krystel.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. So, do you want to start by telling us a bit about you pre the Thrive program? What were you up to? What stage of life were you at? What did you know about some of those symptoms? What sort of brought you to finding out about this course?
So I was working in a car dealership. It was a brand new job. I was in UK. It had been 2 years, 2 or 3 years. So it was kind of new. Coming from France, next to Paris, and I was working as a marketing executive. And I've never had heard about mental health. Like I had heard about it, but not in the way I learned through the Thrive program.
So, what brought you to us? Like, how did you start to be interested in mental health?
So whilst I was driving to work, I had a car accident, and it was really bad. The car was written off, and so my life completely changed from that moment. And I had a manager that went through the Thrive program, and she had mentioned how anxious she used to be before. And because I was really, really feeling hopeless, like I was wondering how am I gonna find my way out, because I was truly and deeply impacted by the loss of my car and the loss of my independence, the loss of my finances, because obviously then I went off sick. And one thing that was really important as well is the car belonged to my mom that I had lost 2 years before. So it was a whole thing around grief, mental health, and vulnerability and scarcity. So yeah, that's how I discovered Thrive program, because my manager mentioned it, and it obviously had worked very well on her, because she described herself as being anxious back then, and I just could not believe that, because I was daily with her and she was thriving. And when I say thriving, in someone is someone with a lot of energy, fully confident, loving life. And I was like, no, it can't be you being worried or being negative. I can't imagine that. So it really convinced me to have a look into the Thrive program.
Cool. So this car accident was almost a bit of a catalyst for you in the midst of grief and everything else, new job, fairly new into a country, life was starting to get tricky. You're starting to sort of feel a bit out of control emotionally and sort of cognitively. So actually having somebody there like your manager who was fairly calm and had a perspective and said, just go and do this thing. So off you pop to go and have a look at the website. But given you're a specialist in writing websites and marketing, and probably a little bit skeptical and a little bit protective of yourself, what were your first thoughts?
She didn't even say have a look on the website. I remember it was a staff party, so it was really not even at work,
Mhm.
and she slipped this information. But I was so hyper vigilant of help. She said, "Oh yeah, I use that, and it's called Thrive." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have a look." And I had a look, and I was not a bit, fully skeptical, because it's a symptom as well of mental health. To be
Yeah,
fair,
yeah,
to
yeah.
be hyper vigilant and feeling threatened by everything. So I was like, "What is it? Is it something that is not I don't know. I talked about my symptoms to my GP. He didn't mention that. Why isn't it more famous? And why are there these marketing codes around that? I don't understand. And can I really believe? But then the day after I came back and I mentioned it to my manager, and I said I had a look based on what you said, and she said, "Oh, yeah," and she explained. She literally explained how she used to be, and yeah, that was just there is no need to have a look that much in a website. When you meet someone who is really thriving, it's just, yeah, how do you do to have that much of energy
Yeah.
and be so happy?
Yeah, so it's far more. I think most of what we do is word of mouth. You know, you meet somebody who's done the program or seen someone do the program, and that's enough. Really, you've got somebody who's just really confident and powerful in the way that they're saying this is the answer, this is what you need. That was enough. Fine. And that sort of didn't get rid of the skepticism, but maybe gave you just a little bit of hope that you thought this is worth me reaching out and having a go. So did you buy the book? Did you see a coach? What was your next step?
By the time I had this conversation, and then I had more information, I was off sick. So I knew I wanted to be supported, and I knew that reading a book wouldn't be enough for me. So I did bought the book, but then I had the first session with Lisa, my coach, and I explained the situation, the grief, the car accident, the pressure expected from my job because I was new, or the pressure I was creating myself. We don't really know, or both. And I explained everything, and that was really, really encouraging because even though I knew I couldn't afford back then at this moment, she she explained to me that this is a skill to see when you see a child, when you see an obstacle or a problem, an issue, whatever, you learn how to see it as a challenge, and it's almost become a game in life. Like, you know, you're gonna cope, you know, you're gonna overcome it. And I was like, I want to have this mindset one day because at the moment I'm feeling overwhelmed, and so yeah, at some point I we managed to find a way, and then I started the coaching session.
Fab. And what were the key things for you then? What did you have to work on? What beliefs did you have to overcome? What were the biggest things that you accomplished by getting yourself thriving?
I know it's not that far, but I can't even really remember the. Wait, I know I have my book. I
Well, so
remember when I
did
have a
you?
look to my book and my notes, I can see how far I came, and I'm like, wow, I used to think that way. That's so disappointing. I used to think everything is a threat. Anything can impact me, and I have no power whatsoever of things that happen to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that was probably the biggest thing, realizing that, well, like you describe it as being a bit of a game, not that making light of stuff that can happen in life, but if you know you can get through it, get round it, manage it in some level, you're always looking at how you can cope with something, how you could respond to something, how you could tackle something, rather than, now this is too big, I can't. It's not that I can't cope or I can cope. It's more like, how am I going to cope with this? And I think it's a different kind of a mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how quickly, it's hard to remember, I guess, for you to have to sort of think back into that way of thinking, but how how quickly did you start to feel a bit more powerful, to sort of realize this was something that was going to help you manage your mindset and pull yourself out of your depression?
Less than 3 weeks, you can feel the effect straight away. Because one thing that really, to answer your question, that now I remember, how to learn to listen to your inner voice. I had no clue how the brain or neuroscience was working, cognitive and all of this. I had no clue. So I didn't know that your thoughts, you can have power on your thoughts, and your thoughts are actually a mirror of your wounds that you need to heal. And I didn't know. So when you learn how to hear your inner voice, your thoughts, and being conscious of being aware, basically, this is how you gain power, because you are like, oh, okay, I just reacted awkward now. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, right. And then you just like you become your own therapist, basically.
Yeah, it makes sense because I think, we describe it a bit like life happens to us, a bit of a passive bystander, certainly when it comes to our thoughts and emotions and situations that happen that we believe are making us think or feel certain things. And of course, if that's your understanding, and that's what sort of society teaches us, why would you be thinking, how can I think differently about this? Because it's not something we've been taught how to do. But when you realize, your thoughts are really just habits of the beliefs that you've created in relation to the experiences you've had, like you say, you can now start to sort of understand why you're thinking the way that you are, why you're reacting in the way that you are, and question it, challenge it, change it. So you said they're 3 weeks, right? That's quite a powerful thing for someone to say. So you said you felt a difference within 3 weeks. People would be wondering how, why, like how did that happen? What did you do? Why was it so quick? When you think people could be in therapy for years, how did you do that so quickly?
I'm not saying that in 3 weeks my life was better. I'm saying that less than 3 weeks, I started to challenge my thoughts and understanding that there is a way out and seeing your life differently. And so you have hope, and so you have motivation, and so you keep working on yourself.
Yeah.
So after 3 weeks, I realized how I had a lot of work to do, because I had a better view, and I was like, oh wow, that's a lot I have to do. But you know that you can do it now. Whereas before you just think, which therapy is gonna save me? That's how you think. So yeah, this is how it happened in less than 3 weeks, because you learn through the program. You read a book, then you have few exercises, and then you took through it with a coach, whether you understand, you don't understand. And I remember something very, very interesting with Lisa. I was very skeptical anyway, so at some point, she said, you need to understand that in this program you will have to challenge your beliefs. So that means you will have to change your mind about things that are unhelpful for you. And changing my mind is a bit, I'm a bit stubborn. So unless you have good argument, it's going to be hard. So at some point we had like a full session silence. And, and she said, I'm not going to talk if you don't talk. And I was like, I'm not talking because I need to let this sink, because it was so huge, things she was telling me. I was just not prepared, and she was telling me truth that basically my mind wasn't ready or didn't want to allow, because most of the time we don't want to hear truth that are painful, because we think we can't cope with this truth. So let's lie to myself and keep living this lie. But that's how actually your life become more and more difficult.
So do you think this type of coaching was different to maybe something you would have got through therapy or counseling?
Oh, I had years of therapy with different therapy, because I didn't grow up in the the best I could. Doesn't This sentence doesn't make sense,
I know
but
what you mean. So you didn't have the best circumstances to grow up under.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I had a lot of therapies, and don't get me wrong. Without them, I wouldn't be here in UK, for instance. But every single time there was something, a trigger, for instance, when I lost my mom, the first thing I thought is, I need to call my therapist. There was always the thing of,
Yeah.
I need. Whereas with the program, you learn how to be your own person, to become internal and not needy. And so this impact all your relationships and everything, whether it's love, whether it's friendship, whether it's work, you become your own person, and that's really empowering.
Yeah, yeah. So you can ask yourself the difficult questions. You can challenge yourself on the difficult emotions. Am I avoiding this, or is this actually here? How can I accept this? How can I cope with this? Which is kind of what Lisa was doing, which was uncomfortable because you're not used to somebody doing that. But actually
Yeah.
that was the thing that you needed at the time to be able to move forward.
And I knew she was doing that for me.
Yeah.
Like she had no reason to hurt me for. So I just needed to open up and accept it.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I don't agree, I just try and then see how it goes and come back with a feedback for the next session. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that you said, I'm stubborn. I think stubborn is a way of almost describing that desire for control. Understandably, when somebody doesn't equip themselves or isn't taught how to cope with certain situations, we do desire control over, and that kind of is like a bit of a safety net around us to sort of protect ourselves from vulnerability, from the unknown. And it's fairly common for a lot of clients to come in with walls up, barriers up, as a protection mechanism against, changing their mind or somebody going against them or having a different opinion. So I think that stubbornness is it's a bit of desire for control, isn't it? And again, it's now in your life, it's probably a good thing because that'll be the thing that drives you to be a success in the things that you do, which we're going to come on to talk about. But would you agree with that? It's kind of a trait of desire for control.
I would say yes. I would say now, instead of stubborn, I will describe me persistent. That
Yeah.
means I'm happy with any change. I know I can cope, but I will keep doing and to reach my goal anyway. So it's more like it's not out of fear. It's more motivation and thriving.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Cool, cool. So you had your sessions with Lisa. From about 3 weeks in, you started to see that these were things you could change. So you started to sort of flip from that sort of powerless, helpless, hopelessness into starting to think in a more powerful way, starting to see the wood for the trees and realizing there is stuff I can do here to get myself better. So when would you describe yourself then as thriving? Like, what was there a moment when you thought, I've made it, I'm here, or was it a very gradual process? Can you think about how did you know?
I think it's a very well. It depends for everyone,
Mm.
obviously. What is it that you have to overcome? I think for me it was extremely gradually,
Yeah.
and I remember I had to write like a note. Can't remember exactly the note, but it was like, I will keep working on myself until reaching the goal, and I know I can cope, and I have the skills for. Actually, I do remember. So it was that very gradually, and I wouldn't say I'm 100% thriving, because I think I learned how to see the room for improvement, and how to see what is strong and solid. But I think I'm 100% more thriving than I used to,
Yeah.
and yeah, so yeah.
I think it's an individual thing, isn't it? What thriving will vary from person to person because it's not a state that everyone gets to and you think, right, I've made it now, this is it, right? It's what you do in any situation. So thriving after you've had a car accident and you're grieving, is very different to thriving when life is going to plan and everyone's healthy and happy and everything else. So it's a different kind of thing. But what's thriving for you then? What's your life been like in the last couple of years? What are some of the things that you've managed to accomplish that younger Krystel would have only dreamed of?
Um, well, I on weekdays I'm working as an interpreter, languages interpreter, and I know younger Crystal was always passionate about communication languages. So knowing that I'm interpreter now is very very cool for younger Crystal. And oh yeah, I left my job in marketing executive. I forgot to mention, but I still love it. But I do it in volunteering way for organization, a non-governmental organization to empower women. So I feel like I'm just using my skills to do what I love to do,
Yeah.
and that's how I see work now. Whereas before, I was driven, but I wasn't seeing it as happiness or as a thriving goal.
Yeah, I guess it's that redefinition of what success is. I think success when you're young and what society teaches us is earn a good salary, have a decent job, have loads of friends, be a certain weight. And actually, I think I've changed my mind about success as the years have gone on. But it's more about having a clear head and being able to be happy and grateful with what you've got. I think the success for me is very different to the younger Lucy.
100%. Same for the younger Crystal.
So tell me, so you've got this sash. Tell me
Yes.
what this sash is all about.
We can't really see it, but so I'm Miss Great Britain finalist 2025, and I started pageantry actually in 2022, right after the coaching session. Actually, I forgot to mention that. So basically, I didn't know what was pageantry, and I had, or when I knew what I know about it was full of stereotype and full of judgment. I was very skeptical. But when I had a look into it, I thought, it looks like, because I used to do a lot of dance, it looks like a bit of dance to be on stage. And at the moment, I'm off sick, having huge depression symptoms, stuck on my sofa. I would love to be able to be on stage one day again. So I thought I'm gonna motivate myself through the program to do it, and it really, really, to have a carrot. I don't know if it's an English expression, but
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
have a motivation.
Yeah. Come on, you had that as a goal, didn't you? Again, it's the
Yes.
younger Christelle. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What do you want from your life? And one of those things was to get off my sofa, get myself to a position where I can be on the stage, confident, in who I am, representing my values.
100%.
Mm.
So the first year I did one pageantry, and that was really, really empowering because I knew where I was coming from. The year after, another time, and pageantry word is really related to mental health as well because it's about having motivation and goals and yeah. So that's it. It is what it is.
And what
2025.
when you stand on that stage, because yeah, I think I probably had a bit of a naive view about it, but we talked a couple of years ago, didn't you, when you were sort of through the program? And I remember you saying then it's less about the aesthetics, it's less about um, beauty on the outside and more about who you stand for on the inside. And you were massive in how you talk about things like mental health and empowering women and think some of the things that you stand for.
Yeah, so that was the stereotypes I had in my mind. I thought, that's really superficial and that's really not me. I haven't studied that much to end up there. That was my thought. But at the same time, because I was stuck on my sofa, I was like, let's see. And And it's all about the program as well. It's about have experience, learn from that, and then challenge your thoughts, challenge your mind, change your mind, and this is how you grow and heal. And going there, what was the question? It was about the mental health there, right?
Just about your journey through, isn't it? And how when you stand on that stage, the things that you represent is far more than just being a gorgeous person on the outside, but all the things that you have close to you on the inside.
Yeah, a lot of pageantry do not anyway. You do not apply by sending photos.
Mm,
Not every time, depend. And when you have interviews, sometimes with judges, there are some curtains, so they don't see you. So it's really what it used to be back in the days, beauty contest. It's not anymore, and that's how we empower women by teaching us and teaching people that educating people that women are far more than the physical, and it's all about achievements,
mm,
educations, and goals that you reach in your life.
mm, mm. And what do you think, what do you think are the values or the skills or the attributes that you have that's allowed you to become a finalist?
The fact that I would say, because they don't really know about the struggle I had with the car. I never mentioned it when I applied and I had my interview. So I think it's more the result of that, basically. The fact that I do boxing, that I'm working as an interpreter and I'm helping people in mental health or asylum seekers. The fact that I speak 3 languages, the fact that I'm also working on weekends. So all of these things that show that I'm driven and thriving is inspiring. And
Yeah.
the fact that I literally start my life from scratch in a new country.
Mm, yeah, 100%. And you mentioned boxing there. So tell us a bit about your boxing journey. Was that something you did pre-Thrive? Was that something you picked up after? What were the differences between before you did it and after you did it?
Long time ago, I started boxing when I was 18, something like that, but on and off. And after the Thrive, I really wanted to go back into physical, going back to the gym, doing something. But again, I was stuck on my sofa. So I started first by reaching the 10,000 steps per day.
Hmm.
Took me month and month to reach these steps. And then after the steps, you start thinking, okay, now I'm ready to go to the gym. And then step by step. And then last year I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to go in the ring. And this is how I ended up in the ring. Basically, it's a charity event. So not only you work on yourself, but you also fundraise for the cause that are close to your heart, and that's I think it's a really good concept.
Mm, yeah, for sure. And how has the Thrive program or how has your Thrivey skill set helped you? Because boxing's not for everyone. I can't imagine being in a ring being hit, but from a personal challenge, kind of building coping skills, that self determination kind of thing, it's bang on.
So I hate violence, surprisingly. I really hate violence, but you learn how to live in the moment and not to overthink, not
Mm,
to think of what if I get hit, what if. And my first fight, I remember it was 1 week before a pageant, so I was kind of, what if I lose a teeth? What if? That's a really risky move. But then I thought, okay, don't overthink. Let's do it. And you will cope whatever happen after that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's not for everyone. I think anyone can do anything if you want to,
Yeah.
because you learn. It's literally a skill. So you learn, you train, you lose, you learn from that, and again, and you repeat. It's a skill.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. So you've come from, I mean, very, very successful, but your definition maybe of a success has changed over the years. What do you still do on a daily basis? Like, how do you thrive yourself with all these things that you're juggling? How do you keep yourself mentally strong on a sort of daily basis now?
I always take my mind as if it was the body. I literally try to, if for instance, so I train my mind as much as I'm training my body. So I will do meditation and mindfulness every day. I will train my mind to stay focused by doing math exercises and stuff like that every day. And like they said, when you go to the gym, sometimes you don't want to go, but because of consistency, it's just easy because it becomes a habit and it's part of you. So I will train as well my body, thinking, oh, I'm gonna fight soon. Not I'm gonna fight, but
Yeah.
the ring. And at the end, when you manage more your focus and your concentration, you don't feel like you are juggling, you don't feel like you are overwhelmed. It's literally just go with the flow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're somebody that I guess has clear goals, clear values. You know what you want, you know what you and you've got those things sort of in the diary happening so you can book your consistency in from that date. If you know you've got a boxing match in 3 months, then you know you've got a certain number of days to train. But you said then, on the days that you don't want to go, how do you talk yourself round? How what does that look like in your head?
I ask myself why I don't want to go. Is it because of my mood or is it because I have a flu and I don't even know? Like, I ask myself literally why, and I try not to beat myself up. And I just let yeah I treat myself with a lot of compassion, like you would do to a best friend, because that's what you learn. You have to be very to have a lot of self-love and unconditional, and this is how you build your confidence, by treating yourself with the most compassionate person you can be.
Mm, for sure, for sure. So what's coming up? When is your Miss Great Britain finalists
In
thing?
October
In
6th.
October. Okay, so you've got a few things going on before then, I guess, in the run up to that. Have you got any more boxing matches coming up?
In July.
July's boxing.
Yeah.
Cool. What else have you got going on that's exciting in the next few months?
I am training to be a life coach, so that's very exciting.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So lots happening, but all aligned with what you want to get out of your life, where your passions are, what drives you. So, like you said, it doesn't feel like you're juggling too much. They're just things that you're motivated by.
Yes.
Fantastic. To end, then, what would be your advice? What do you want people to take away from listening to your story?
No matter what you go through, don't be scared of being vulnerable and face it. One day, a therapist told me something like the mind is really tend to avoid things by fear, and sometimes we don't even know we are scared. We just do things avoiding it, blaming people, blaming situation, blaming everything, not taking accountability because we are scared. And it's basically as if you are on the beach and you are scared of the big wave which is behind you. But the more you walk, the less you know the wave is coming. You need to stop, turn, and face the wave. And I was like, that's a bit scary to face the wave, but at some point you learn how to surf on the wave and just you just learn how to make it your best friend, you know. So that's how you thrive.
Fab. So I guess the the not being held back by the doubt or the fear, but actually learning that stepping into that, learning to face it and actually get through it, you come out much stronger than if you go through life sort of, which is essentially what we talk about building coping skills, and where
Absolutely.
you so beautifully said that you know you didn't go and go to the gym. That would have been too much when you were sitting on your sofa, but just to get your steps in every day was the start point for you. That was you sort of finding manageable goals that felt like you could achieve them and start to work your way towards things. If you'd have gone to the gym and that would have been maybe too big. So it's the same kind of thing, isn't it? Just building things that make sense for you incrementally
Yeah.
so that it feels manageable.
Yeah. 100%.
Lovely, lovely. Well, I'm not going to say good luck for boxing or good luck for Miss Great Britain because you will smash them and the outcome doesn't matter. The fact that you've got yourself into a position where you are thriving in both those bits of your life is you're already a winner. So, but
Thank
we
you.
will be thinking of you and you'll have to keep us posted so we can pop some updates out. But thank you so much for telling your story and taking the time to share that with people. It's really inspiring to see somebody, you know, coming from a, you know, I think we can all feel those feelings from time to time when things happen and we feel like we're just, it's too much. But actually, for you to say, right, let me learn how to be like my manager was. Let me learn what she's done. If she's done it, I can do it, and pull yourself out. That's really credible. So good for you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to have you on, and I'm sure we'll hear from you soon.